Hello, welcome to the video on the triangle sum conjecture. In this video you're going to find out how to deal with triangles pretty much, and their angles. The rule for triangles is that if you add up the three angles, the interior angles, the ones inside, you should always get 180 degrees, no matter what. So if we look at our first example here, you've got your three angles here in this triangle. You know, one of them's 80, one of them's 60. You can get the third one. Since these have to add up to 180 total, you can say, well, if I know this, if I know these two, then this one has to be 180 minus whatever these add up to. So this angle here is going to be 180 minus the sum of 80 and 60. 180 minus 80 plus 60. Well, that's 180 minus, these add up to 140. 180 minus 140 is 40. So I know that this angle here is 40 degrees. And if I check that work, 40 plus 60 is 100, 100 plus 80 is 180. It works. In example 2, you see a triangle here, and you see a little bit more. You see that these lines kind of went on a little further, and so did this one. And I want this angle. So now we've got to use some older stuff. We've got to use linear pairs, vertical angles, and our triangle rule. Well, as soon as you see one of these numbers, you want to see if you can give me any other numbers. So I look at this 70, and as soon as I see that 70, I notice that these two lines cross, and that tells me that this angle here is the exact same as this angle here. They're congruent. So if this is 70, that's 70. Also, I know that this is a straight line, and if these are vertical angles, then these are linear pairs. They make a straight line together. So 180 minus 70, that means this is 110, and so is this. Because alternatively, these two angles are the same. Alright, well that still didn't get me this. It got me closer, but it didn't get me this angle yet. So now I see a triangle, and I know that triangles have 180 degrees in them, just like this one. So if this is 45 and this is 70, they add up to 115. So this has to be 180 minus 115, because that's what these add up to. 45 plus 70 is that 115. I just didn't write it like that. 180 minus 115, that gives me 65. And just to make sure I did it right, 45 plus 65, that's 110. 110 plus 70, that's 180. So this triangle's working out right. But I still need this. Well, I can do that. Just kind of like how I got this 110 from this 70 over here. This line is straight. These two angles are adjacent. They're next to each other. They're attached at this line, and they form this straight line. So these have to add up to 180 as well, because there's 180 degrees in a straight line. So this angle is really 180 minus 65, which is 115. And we're done. Alright? So you can have very simple problems. You can have problems where you have to use linear pairs and vertical angles. And then you can have other problems like this, where you have to use some combination of all three. You might have to use them more than once. So if we look at example 3, it's very similar. And the angle that I would like to get, sorry, I forgot to put the question mark in, is this one here. So we have to get all these other angles. So I'm going to look around, I'm going to see, do I see any vertical angles? In this case, no. A lot of times you'll see an angle, maybe I would have given you this angle, and you would have been able to say that's vertical. Or maybe I would have given you this angle, and you would have been able to get that one. But instead I gave them to you in terms of linear pairs. So if this is 125, and this is a straight line, right here, these have to add up to 180. So 180 minus 125, that's 55. Again, I got that by doing 180 minus 125. So these angles are vertical to these angles. So if this is 55, that's 55. If this is 125, that's 125. Up here, kind of the same deal. We see that this 130 should be the exact same as this. And I'm aware that this wasn't in the problem in the beginning, but I'll put it in there. And then same deal. If I want to get this, well then we see that this here is a straight line broken by that ray, or that line segment. So these have to add up to 180, or that's 130. So 180 minus 130 is 50. And this is also 50 degrees then. Put in my degree symbols. So I use my linear pairs, I use my vertical angles. I don't have this angle yet though, and I need to be getting into this triangle to get this angle. But I do have one triangle here, where I have two of the angles, which is what we saw here and here. So if I know these two angles, I can get this third angle. this angle's got to be 180 minus these two. So let's see. This has to be 180 minus the sum of 55 and 50. 50 plus 55 is 105. 180 minus 105 is 75. Again, if you want to check it, 50 plus 55 is 105. 105 plus 75 is 80. Or I'm sorry, 180. So that works. Now here's where I expect a lot of people to get stuck. You're used to linear pairs being literally a pair of angles, where these two angles add up to 180. Well, if I split this angle again, oops, I missed. If I split it again, well, if these two added up to 180, just because I split this again doesn't mean they don't. They still add up to 180, it's just now these two are smaller. If I split it again, now these four add up to 180. So that's kind of what we see here. Right, you see this point where two angles join together. You see this 75-degree angle here. You see this 60-degree angle here. You see this blank angle here. So the point is, these three have to add up to 180 together. Well, these two, 75 plus 60, that's 135. And 180 minus 135 is what should go here. In this case, that would be 45. Yep, 75, 60, and 45, that's 180. And then I'm in my last triangle, I'm very close to my answer. I see this 45, I see this 25. I've got 2 out of 3 angles, which means I can get my last one. This one's going to be 180 minus these two added up. 45 plus 25. That's really 180 minus 70. So I know that this angle here is 110. And that's it. Okay, those are the types of angles, the types of problems you're going to see with triangles if they don't have variables in them. If the only variables they might have is like, maybe I put an A there or a B there, but no expressions. I wouldn't say that this is like 2x plus 3. In another video I'll show you how to handle the expressions. But that should just about do it. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. I'll be sure to get back to you. And I hope this was informative, and I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.